A bell tinkles as the door opens. A soft swell of acoustic guitar and the hiss of the espresso machine fill the air. Sunlight pours through tall windows and catches on the dust motes above small round tables. The cafe smells like toasted almond and lemon peel. A chalkboard lists specials in looping handwriting. People are quietly reading, tapping at laptops, living in the kind of present that is kind and unhurried. Lucy is early. She sits at a corner table, knees tucked under her, a paperback novel folded at the spine, a cup of tea that has gone lukewarm from waiting. She checks her phone, scrolls again, breathes, laughs at something in the book. Her outfit is a careful mix of casual and hopeful. A thrifted floral dress, a scarf knitted by a neighbor, a worn leather satchel with paint stains that whisper of an artist's life rather than a corporate one. Across the room, the barista, Marco, slides a latte across to a customer with a flourish. He eyes Lucy with friendly curiosity and then looks back at the entrance as if expecting a parade. He hides a small grin. Alex steps in. He is not ostentatious. He wears a well-tailored coat, boots that know how to walk on marble and carpet, and a watch that looks expensive but only because it is. He carries a briefcase that has the slightest scuff on one corner, a mark earned rather than kept pristine. He pauses, scanning the room, and for a second Lucy thinks he might be looking for someone else entirely. He spots her, does a quick mental recalibration, and smiles. An honest, slightly surprised smile like finding money in a winter coat. He approaches. Alex, Lucy? Lucy looks up. She stands too quickly and nearly knocks over her tea. She recovers with a laugh. Lucy, Alex? Hi. Wow. You look not like the profile picture. Better in every way. That is allowed. Alex chuckles and sets his briefcase down, tilting his head. Alex, thank you. That is the nicest literal compliment I have received today. They shake hands briefly and then sit. Their hands linger a beat longer than necessary. Both notice it and both smile at the same time. They dive into easy conversation, the kind practiced over countless blind date anecdotes, but still full of discovery. They trade small confidences like swapping stickers on a notebook. She tells him about a failed attempt to start a little community art collective, about teaching kids how to paint with their feet and the hilarious results. He tells her about a new sustainability initiative at his company and then corrects himself when he sees her eyebrow raise. He deflates jargon into human stories, about people leaving their old jobs to return to craft, about a seamstress from a small town who now designs for a collaborative line. It flows. Laughter comes often. They exchange subtle vantages of character, and the rhythm becomes familiarity in half an hour. The waitress, June, refills their cups with a practiced tenderness that says she knows this scene. Two strangers orbiting each other like new planets. She drops a slice of lemon cake on the table as a courtesy and, a beat later, places two skillets on a tray and walks off to the next table. Conversation shifts topics without a crease. The cappuccino foam has a leaf. A pigeon knocks on the window, a comedian cue. Alex watches Lucy speak, eyes steady, amused, like someone reading a favorite chapter out loud. Lucy notices a scar on Alex's knuckle and asks about it. He tells her it is from a kitchen he once worked in. She laughs and confesses she used to burn toast every Sunday on purpose because the char made interesting abstract marks. They both laugh until the corner of Lucy's smile crinkles into something softer. The city hums beyond the glass, 100 incomplete stories passing through the frame. Midway through their meal, the cafe grows busier. A man at the next table rehearses an apology in a low voice on the phone. A woman in an oversized coat shares a pastry with a toddler who insists the jam is a spaceship. The place is alive. Their conversation deepens. They talk about fear, of failure, of commitment, of not following a passion. Lucy admits she does freelance and studio work, but bills have been late lately, the commission market fickle, and she is down to creative crumbs. She says it with humor that sounds like armor. Lucy, people think freelancing is romantic until they see your fridge. Then it becomes a true crime story. Alex leans forward. Alex, I think creativity is brave. I mean that. I work with numbers and proposals all day. I admire people who choose to build something visible, something vulnerable. Lucy studies him for a beat and then offers the teacup halfway to her lips. Lucy, you sound like someone who gives compliments because they are used to giving checks. Alex, maybe. Or maybe I give compliments because it is easier than admitting I notice things and am terrible at being small about it. They laugh, a private language forming. The server drops the bill on a small tray and slips away. Lucy idly checks her phone and her smile falters. The laughter dissolves into a different kind of calculation. Rent due, upcoming supply orders, a text from her landlord. Lucy places her phone face down. She forces a lightness, attempting to reshape her worry into a joke. The moment is small, but in it Alex sees a shadow. He notices the practiced way she tightens her fingers around the cup. He sees how her shoulders rise and fall with someone who has breathed stress for years. As they gather their coats, Lucy reaches into her satchel and pulls out a small coin purse. She thumbs through it and realizes with a tiny gasp the coins rattle like a lonely orchestra. 3 quarters, a penny, a single, hopeful nickel. She looks up, eyes flitting to the bill. Lucio, I didn't bring enough. I can put in what I have. She offers the coin purse with a grin that says she is laughing to keep from crying. Alex reaches out and stops her before she opens it. Alex, don't, let me. Lucy flushes. There is humility woven into her face. She has pride that rarely lets others step in. She is a woman who pays her own way, who refuses pity. She looks away as if to hide the softening. Lucy, no, really. I owe you an honest first impression, not a free lunch. The waitress approaches, taking the bill. Alex signals. He produces a card. It's simple, no showmanship, just a leather card holder and a card pulled out like a business card. The waitress swipes, prints, and returns the receipt with a small smile. Alex, it's on me. The words are ordinary and extraordinary at once. Lucy's mouth forms the beginnings of a response that is complicated. Gratitude, embarrassment, a flinch of hope. She has been propositioned before, money as a beginning, affection bought like trinkets. This feels different. It is offered without fanfare, without claim, without the invisible strings that make a favor into a transaction. Lucy, I can't accept that. Alex, why not? Lucy gathers herself, thinking of 1,000 rational reasons. She explains about independence, about debts repaid with compromise, about how accepting help sometimes means losing a small piece of oneself. She tells him, lightly, that she is allergic to handouts and the sentiment of it. Alex, I don't think of it as a handout. I think of it as not letting you stress over a lunch when you're supposed to be enjoying company. Lucy pauses because he has named what she tried to hide. Fear of losing the ability to enjoy things because of a future of arithmetic. Lucy, you're very practical for a CEO. Alex, and you are very unbusinesslike for an artist. Yet here we are, making economic decisions about pastries. They laugh. The moment loosens. Lucy accepts the help but promises to reciprocate in some nerdy, non-financial, but totally meaningful way. Lucy, okay, but you owe me a painting or a lesson in burning toast artistically. Alex, deal. And I expect the toast to come with a compelling artist statement. They step out into the afternoon together, the city a mosaic of crosswalks and vibrating buses. Their farewells stretch like a cliffhanger. He says he'll call. She says she wants him to. He asks if she'd like to go to a gallery opening that evening. She checks her phone and pretends she isn't tempted by a rare empty calendar. Lucy, I have a meeting this evening. But maybe next week? Alex, next week it is. He watches her walk away and then turns the corner, not hurried but with a resolve like a man who had just made a choice that felt like something between common decency and new possibility. Days pass. They text like two people trying on new shoes. Playful gifts, small earnest messages, a photo of an oddly shaped cloud, an invitation to a flea market, the kind of conversation that turns strangers into coordinates. They agree to meet again, this time at Lucy's small studio above a laundromat, where paint cans share space with detergent. The studio smells of turpentine and warm cotton. Lucy shows him work in progress. A mural she is planning for a community center, sketches with sticky notes for color theory, a stubborn canvas that refuses to be finished. Alex, you're making a world in here. Lucy, it needs a lot of elbow grease and a few miracles. He listens. He notices how her face lights when talking about the mural, the way her mouth makes little crescents of joy. He asks about funding and timelines and whether she has asked for volunteers or grants. She says she has tried, but the grant cycles are slow and the community needs the mural now. Alex, tell me everything. Maybe I can help in ways that aren't just money. Lucy eyes him. This is the test. She needs assistance that respects her authorship, not a takeover. She needs someone to be in the corner without rewriting the script. Lucy, I want to keep creative control. I want it to be for the community, not an advert. If you help, it has to be because you believe in the outcome, not the branding. Alex, I understand. I want to help because it matters. Simple as that. They make a plan that honors her autonomy. Alex introduces her to procurement contacts, to someone at a sustainable paint company willing to donate materials, to a foundation that could sponsor community art. He offers his time to help organize volunteers. He declines naming rights. Each refusal is deliberate, like watching a person set boundaries in place with sculpted care. The mural goes up. Neighbors bring ladders. School kids come with faces full of wild paint promises. There are messes, disagreements about color, a misunderstanding about an image the mayor thought would look good, and then the mayor concedes when a little girl explains what the mural is about. It becomes a story of small recoveries and joyful mess. Lucy paints, often at the top of a ladder, while Alex passes brushes, mixes colors, or holds a tarp when wind threatens a day's work. They banter. They compete in who can make the boldest splash. They bicker like old friends and then melt into laughter. The community watches, sometimes with awe, sometimes with skepticism, but often with something like curiosity that turns into pride. A few weeks later, at the mural unveiling, the scene is bustling. Neighbors, news vans, a food truck with the best empanadas. Lucy stands before the finished piece, a riot of color that tells a story of her neighborhood's past, present, and future. It is unapologetically hers, quirky, messy, luminous. People cry. Children dance. A woman who had once complained about murals as wasteful stands with her hand over her heart. Lucy looks for Alex. He is at the back, coat under arm, eyes like slow smiles. He strides forward and takes in the sight, then squeezes her hand. His presence is quiet support, the kind that does not drown the artist's voice. Later, as the sun dips low, the crowd thins. Alex and Lucy sit on the curb, paint-stained and tired and alive. They share empanadas. They talk about failing and starting and why small acts of beauty matter. Alex, I could have written a press release about this and called it corporate social responsibility. Lucy, would it have been better if you had? Alex, no. It would have been necessary, but not enough. You taught me something. Beauty can be infrastructure. She laughs and smudges blue paint across his knuckle. He pulls his hand back and pretends to be wounded in a melodramatic way. Lucy, there. Now you're officially part of the palette. Time passes. Their connection deepens through ordinary intimacy. They learn each other's spoons and storms. What soothes them after a long day? What conversation drains them? The silly playlist that makes them both pause and laugh. Their dates are cheap and generous. Library scavenger hunts. Visiting a closing-down antique shop to see what stories they find. Cooking dinners that are slightly experimental and slightly burned. Money becomes an instrument, not a script. Yet complications appear. Alex's job becomes more demanding. A merger looms, and with it late-night calls and strategic dinners. He assures Lucy he can manage, but the late nights pile up like tiny debts. Lucy, for her part, is offered a private commission, a mural for a corporate headquarters with a big check that would fund her projects for months. It is a moral puzzle. Take payment that would secure her freedom, but perhaps compromise her principles, or refuse and risk the precariousness of her studio life. At a coffee shop that once hosted their blind date, they sit across from each other with a weight between them. Alex, you should take it. Financial security isn't shameful. It is practical. Lucy, it feels like selling a piece of the story I want to tell. Alex, I worry about you having to choose between your art and your life. I don't want art to be the reason you have to sacrifice an apartment or peace of mind. Lucy looks at him, seeing the earnestness, the fear in his eyes like a small animal in winter. Lucy and I worry that if I say yes, I will wake up one morning and find everything I rebelled against is wallpapered into my life. They argue, softly, with hands on coffee cups, raising voices only with their eyes. It is less about right and wrong than about the very human geometry of power and intention. He says he's trying to be practical. She says she wants moral clarity. He says he simply wants her to be safe. She says she wants to be true. They don't resolve it in that moment. Instead, they walk in different directions as if orbiting a problem too large to swallow in one conversation. The space between them becomes tense, a string of small silences filled with bruised pride. Days stretch. There are missed calls from Alex. He sends messages that are helpful but a little brisk. Lucy wrestles with the commission. She dreams of the mural at night and wakes with paint under her nails. She turns the offer down because the contract would allow the company editorial control she refuses to grant. The choice is both freeing and terrifying. Alex watches her choice and realizes, in a clarity that is painful, that his idea of helping had been laden with his comfort, his inclination to fix rather than to understand. He had thought his offers were straightforward kindness. He had not realized how the shape of his help sometimes implied a ledger where none should be kept. He shows up at Lucy's studio without fanfare, carrying an armful of paint brushes and a thermos of hot chocolate. He closes the door softly. "Alex, I messed up." Lucy looks up, tired, suspicious, but also curious. "Alex, I tried to help you by protecting you from hardship, but I forgot to ask what you thought about being protected. I forgot that your work is a part of you in a way that isn't about balance sheets." Lucy listens. She sees his hands, the small scratches on his knuckles matching the one he had told her about. She sees a man who is willing to be wrong. "Lucy and Alex, and I want to make a different offer. Not money, not control. I want to be a gathering point. I have resources, yes, but what I can offer most easily is a platform. Not to make your voice corporate, but to amplify it on your terms. I can introduce you to people who respect artists, to contacts who believe in community projects. I can volunteer my time in ways that don't erase yours. I can step back when you need space and step in when you ask." Lucy studies him. It is a proposal of trust, a tentative contract signed in vulnerable ink. "Lucy, that is different." "Alex, it is an invitation. Take it or decline it." She smiles, small and grateful. "Lucy, I accept the invitation under one condition. You have to learn to make tea properly." "Alex, deal. Also, I promise to stop calling every helpful person I meet a procurement partner." They kiss then, first slow, then with the urgency of long-waited rain. It is imperfect and real. Paint smears at the corner of their mouths. The studio feels like a small cathedral where two people decide to build something together with their hands and their failures. Montage of moments. They knock on doors for community grants and are sometimes turned away. They celebrate small wins with supermarket champagne. They paint a community garden fence. They host a fundraiser with mismatched crockery and perfect music. Alex organizes an event that is about people and not press. He listens to Lucy argue for a vision that refuses corporate polish. He learns to be comfortable with not always having the answers. Lucy learns the art of asking directly for help and not couching it in irony. They sleep in, sometimes, and take long walks where they discuss everything and nothing. Conflict arrives again, gentler this time. Alex must travel for a week for negotiations that could mean new jobs for many people at his company. Lucy worries about him leaving during a phase of her project that requires coordination. He promises to return early. She tries to believe him and fails, and then forgives him for being human. On the night before his trip, they stand on the roof of her building, city lights pooling like a spilled constellation. The air is the kind that scratches your ears awake with possibility. "Alex, no matter what happens, I want you to know I choose you. Not because of any mural or because of what you make. Because of who you are." "Lucy, that's a big sentence." "Alex, it is. I'm trying to be honest." Lucy steps closer and places her hand in his. "Lucy, I choose you too. I choose a life with temper tantrums and burnt toast and spreadsheets that mysteriously get color-coded with paint swatches." They laugh. It is late and the city is a hush. They kiss, slow and certain. He leaves. The week elongates. They exchange voice notes that sound like bedtime stories. He calls late at night and tells her about hotel rooms with bad coffee. She sends him pictures of a paint sprayer with triumphant approval. He returns with news. The negotiations went well, but the new role would demand even more of him. He is offered a position that would place him in the city full-time rather than a commuter life. It would mean stability and increased influence for his philanthropic initiatives. It would also mean changes. They talk seriously. It is not dramatic. The stakes are practical. Time, boundaries, where to live. They navigate with surprising tenderness, sometimes disagreeing, but always circling back to the things that brought them together. The urge to make things better and the delight in doing it together. They decide to take a step. Alex reduces his travel schedule and opts for a local office. He negotiates with his board about work-life balance and shows them that the numbers can be kinder without losing edge. It is not easy. There are late nights and bureaucratic bruises. But he persists because the woman who wakes him up with notes about color palettes makes the days feel like they matter in a different spectrum. One evening, months after the mural's unveiling, they find themselves back in the cafe of their first date. It is quieter now. The staff remembers them as regulars in a way that is comfortable. The waitress, June, slides a slice of lemon cake onto the table with a wink. "Alex, I have something for you." Lucy eyes him, amused. "Alex, no, not this cake. A different something." He reaches into his coat and produces a small roll of paper tied with a ribbon. Lucy smiles, but also looks puzzled. He uncurls it and hands it to her. It is a framed letter, a small, printed certificate of patronage confirming a fund he has established for community artists with an annual grant to support neighborhood projects. It is in his company's name, but signed personally as a guarantor of intention. "Lucy, this is major." "Alex, it is. I wanted to make it with you. I want to build a structure that helps more murals get painted and more kids learn to make things that are messy and true." Tears gather in Lucy's eyes. Not because she needs money now, but because someone helped build a ladder for the next generation to climb and didn't try to turn it into a billboard. She hugs him and laughs and cries at once. "Lucy, you didn't do it alone. Alex, I did it with what you taught me. How to ask. How to demand that help respects people." They kiss, and the cafe hums like an audience of approving witnesses. The scene fades into a sequence of small celebrations, ribbon cuttings for art projects, children painting their initials on fences, a small exhibition where local artists sell their work and split the proceeds. Their love is not perfect. There are moments of miscommunication and petty frustrations about toothpaste caps left off. But there is also a growing ease, the kind that comes from weathering storms together and realizing the other person's storms are not yours to own, but to stand beside. A year later, at a late afternoon festival in front of the community center, the mayor asks Lucy to say a few words. She stands on a makeshift stage, paint still in her hair from touch-ups. "Lucy, when I was little, someone told me you either make art to impress people or you make art to heal people. I thought I had to pick. Now I see you can do both. You can create and you can care, and sometimes sharing a bill at a cafe is how both of those things begin." She looks at Alex and the crowd, and then at the community she helped make more colorful and more kind.